You're listening to the Sisters in Loss podcast, a faith-based grief and loss podcast for Black women, where you will hear stories of miscarriage, infant loss, stillbirth, and infertility to learn there is a testimony in tragedy. You will learn how to heal, gain clarity, find hope and peace, and turn your pain into your purpose after loss. I'm your host, Erica M. McAfee. Well, thank you so much, LaQuinda, for being on the podcast.
Hey, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Begin by sharing a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, my name, once again, is LaQuinda, Quinn for short. I am an educator. I've been teaching for the past 14 years. With that in mind, I have started my own business in which I offer a tutoring service through my business. So it's just been a venture for me, stepping outside of the classroom. I'm also a benefits specialist, so with AFLAG. And that's just a little bit about me as far as my career path right now.
Yes. So take us back on your journey to motherhood and share with us your loss story.
Well, my journey began on October the 5th, 2018. I found out that I was expecting, and to my surprise, I have a daughter, and it was just a surprise for me altogether because I said, wow, I'm going to be a mother again. Then as I reflect back on to my actual journey, just some things as I was journaling everything, piecing everything together, a timeline. Back in December, once I found out that I was expecting, October, December came around and I just started, questioning things like more. So do I need to do this? Because I wanted this pregnancy to be a little bit different. I didn't have any complications with my daughter. So I didn't expect anything for my son, my king. So December the 12th, I received a call from my nurse, my midwife, and she said that, everything checked out, your blood work. I believe you're a little bit anemic. And we just need to work on that. And you're a carrier of alpha thessalemia, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, a disorder of hemoglobin. And I said, okay, could you explain that? Do I need to do anything? Do I need to take any medicine, precautions, anything? And she said, well, no, there's really nothing that, you can do. Everything will take place, after the birth of your child. And I said, oh, okay, no problem. Then December the 28th, I found out that I was expecting a boy. And I'm going to let you know the time because time plays a relevant role in everything that transpired. The time that I received that call was at 4:24 p.m. I was actually in Miami, my hometown. And she informed me that, okay, you're having a boy. And I said, wow, I had a vision, a dream that I was going to have a boy. However, I was like, okay, what about a little girl? And she was like, no, you're having a boy. And I said, oh, okay, no problem. At that point, I said, okay, I want to do things different. I want to eat a little bit healthier, just the whole 9 yards, because this will be my last pregnancy at the end of the day. So February the 28th, or 26th, I decided that I wanted to go through a different experience. I didn't want to go to the hospital. I wanted to go to the birthing center and have more so a relaxing experience because with my daughter, I was left traumatized with her when I was in the hospital. So I said, I want to go a different route. So I found the birthing center and I felt at home. I felt at peace. The next step was for me to select a doula and just this additional support system for myself, my family, friends, etc. After that initial meeting with my doula, I started feeling a little bit different as far as what I started experiencing. it was totally different from my first child. And I know they say that with every child is different, but it was like, okay, I'm having some pains here and there. And I felt like my stomach was extremely large for how many months I was. So in March, I began experiencing pains. I was actually sitting at my desk at work, and I was actually taking a test, and I started feeling pain. And I told my coworker, and she said, well, you're entering into another trimester, you're 6 months, everything is A-okay. And she said, it's probably round ligament pains. And I said, you know what? Thinking back, I said, yes, I experienced the same thing, but I said it wasn't as painful. So I was a little bit concerned. So after I finished taking my test, I said, I think I might need to go to the hospital. But she said, hey, why don't you drink some water? I said, okay, I'll drink some water. I drank some water, and then the pain decreased. So I was able to make it home, and I spoke to my boyfriend, and I said, I'm just not feeling so well. And he said, just relax. He said, you've been up on your feet. Maybe you just need to relax. So I said, okay, maybe that's what it is. So that night started feeling pain again. I went to the restroom. When I went to the restroom, I noticed that I was spotting, just a little bit of spotting. And I told him, I'm spotting. He said, he said, you need to go to the hospital. He said, what are you experiencing? I said, well, it's just a tightening pain. Like he's stretching. I feel him moving. He's moving all around and it's hurting. And he said, okay, that's, he said he identified with it as round ligament pain as well. So at that point, he said, okay, if the pain doesn't stop, then we'll go to the hospital. He said, hey, let's call the doula. Let's speak to her and let her know what's going on. And she reassured me that, yes, it's round ligament pains, and this is normal. You just entered into another trimester. So this is my second trimester. And she said, yeah, this is what normally happens. So just relax, take deep breath, drink some water, relax, put your feet up, relax. So that's what I did. Then on March the 13th, I said, okay, I'm on my health journey. I'm going to try something different. I'm going to exercise because I noticed, like I said, I was just out of breath and I just wasn't feeling like myself. So I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to try some exercise. I'm going to try yoga. So I decided to enroll in yoga. It was a pregnancy yoga class, and I enrolled in it like maybe 15 minutes before the class actually started. However, the week before, I said, no, I'm going to go to yoga, this particular class, because I found it very interesting. So it was just something about this yoga class that I said I wanted to be a part of. So as I was getting dressed, I came back to our living room area, and we have a puppy, and the puppy was tugging at my shoe. Tugging at my shoe. And as he was tugging, I stepped back. And when I stepped back, I slightly fell over, and I fell over just on my side, and no complication, no pain or anything. It wasn't a hard fall. I just fell over on my side like a small fall. And I got right back up, and I said, okay, well, took a deep breath again. I said, okay, I'm going to yoga. Kissed everyone goodbye, said goodbye. But as I was leaving, my daughter said to me, are you coming back? And I said, huh? What do you mean, am I coming back? She said, and she never asked me this. It was just out the blue. She just ran up to the door and said, mommy, are you coming back? And I said, yeah. And, I brushed it off. Yeah, I'm coming back. I'm coming back. So when I got to the yoga center, I realized that the yoga center was actually next, or it was conjoined with the hospital in which I delivered her. So automatically I was like, oh, no. I don't want to be in the hospital, but something told me, go ahead and go to class. So as I went to class, I was speaking to all of the mothers, the expecting mothers, and they were telling me how many months they were. And I said, well, I'm 6 months. And they said, wow, 6 months? You're all like, wow. Everyone else was smaller as far as size of their stomach. So remember I said before, I was a little concerned about my stomach, how large my stomach was. So I said, okay, I'm going to be carrying a big baby. And then someone suggested, well, maybe it's twins. And I said, no, no, no. I had an ultrasound. It's one. It's one baby. So at that point, after class, I started feeling a little wet, a wetness sensation. So I went to the restroom. As I went to the restroom, I used the restroom, I started noticing that I was spotting again. So at that point, I walked over to the nurse and I informed her that I'm spotting. And she said, oh, okay. She said, maybe you were exercising too much, and, is it a lot or a little bit? And I said, no, it's just, just a little bit of spotting. She said, okay, I'm going to call the security officer at the hospital, and we're going to see what's going on with you. So at that point, the security guard came over and he asked me, well, can you walk over? And he said, no, I don't want you walking. He said, I'm going to escort you. So he pulled up and he took me to the hospital. So as soon as I got into the hospital, automatically, I just had this uneasy feeling, unsettling feeling, like, oh no, this is the hospital. I don't want to be in a hospital at all. There's nothing wrong. Everything is okay. So the nurse tells me, she said, okay, can you use the restroom? Can you go to the restroom so I can get a sample? I said, well, no, I just went to the restroom, at the center. So I don't really have to go to the restroom. So she said, okay, well, let's see. I'll give you some water and we'll see if you can go to the restroom. I said, okay, we'll try it. So after 5 minutes or so, I said, no, I don't have to. And I proceeded to wipe. And as I proceeded to wipe, I noticed some more blood. So at that point, I yelled out to her, hey, I'm still bleeding. I don't know what's going on. She said, okay, no problem. We're going to figure this out. So she calls in the doctor. The doctor brings in the ultrasound, and on the screen, I actually see my son. He's on the screen. I'm smiling. I'm like, yeah, no, don't come too early. Don't come too early. Because he was supposed to be due in June. So I'm like, this is March. No, this is too early. I don't have a name, or we don't have a name. We don't have anything ready for you. Like, no, this isn't the time. No. As I'm sitting, or as I'm lying there, the nurse comes, or a nurse comes in, another nurse comes in, and the doctor is looking at the screen, and then he proceeds to walk out. And as he's walking out, the nurse follows him. Both nurses, they follow him. Then he comes back in. He looks back at the screen, or he looks at the ultrasound again. Then he walks away again. Then about maybe 10 minutes or so, I'm in the room. At this point, I've called my boyfriend and told him, hey, I'm in the hospital. We're trying to see what's going on. So he was like, I'm on the way. I'm coming. Don't worry about anything. As soon as I hung up with him, the doctor comes back in, and he comes back in with the nurse, and she has another machine. At this point, I'm like, okay, what is going on? I see my son. He's moving. What's going on? Someone tell me something. So another 10 minutes passed by, and he then informs me at that point, he said, unfortunately, there isn't a heartbeat. And he just walks out. And at that point, when he walked out, of course, I started screaming. I was by myself. No one was there with me. The nurses, they tried to comfort me as best as they could. They said, okay, can we call someone? I said, no, there's nothing wrong in my mind. There's nothing wrong. I see my son. He's still on the screen. At this point, I found out later on that it's called the grayscale ultrasound. So therefore, I'm like, no, he's right there. He's right there on the screen. Come, try it again. Maybe it's something that you missed. I said, he was moving. He's been moving since, he's been moving. What are you saying? There's no heartbeat. So she said, okay, well, or he comes back in and he says, we're going to have to deliver as soon as possible. We're going to have to try to figure out whether it's going to be a C-section or vaginal. However, we need to do this quickly because we don't know how long he's been in stomach. We don't know how long he's been in there. So we need to hurry up ASAP. So at that point, I'm like, no, we're not doing this. He's due in June. He's due in June. This is too early. No, 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 no. So I'm screaming, no, no, no. The two nurses, they're still trying to console me. At that point, I was able to call my boyfriend again. And I told him I was basically screaming. They're telling me there's no heartbeat. There's no heartbeat. So at that point, he's like, what are you talking about? I said, they're telling me there's no heartbeat, no heartbeat. So at that point, he tries to get in touch with my parents and my mom, my dad, my sister. I remember speaking to her, and she's like, the first thing we need to do is pray, because no, this what's meant to be will be. Let's pray. Let's pray. I also called my doula, told her what was going on, and she was like, I'm coming. My god sister, she was closest to me as well. So everyone was called at that point to come to the hospital. So upon my boyfriend getting to the hospital, the doctor is speaking to him and telling him, look, what we need to do, we need to deliver as soon as possible, because there's a risk that she could catch, or there could be a blood clot. And as a result, you can lose both of them. So at that point, I blacked out, and he just simply told the doctor, or my sister, everyone was saying, just go ahead, take care of her, whatever needs to be done. So I'm still in shock as to what is going on, still trying to come to terms, like trying to gather everything around, or in my head, trying to piece everything, like what is going on, what happened, what's going on. So I actually delivered on the 14th, my son on the 14th, and the time was 4 minutes shy of when I found out what I was having, which was a boy. So it was 4:20 when he was actually delivered. They told me, okay, he weighs 1 pound, 11 ounces, 13 inches. So reality really didn't set in for me until I delivered, and there was no sound, no crying. And that's when I broke it down again. And at that point, my family was with me, my doula, my boyfriend, my god sister. And at that point, they said, okay, we're going to try to have you deliver your placenta, everything out all at once, but it was very painful. So they actually had to sedate me. And when they sedated me, she said, okay, we had to perform a D&C to make sure there's nothing, no residue, nothing left in you. And I said, okay, once I came to, and the question she asked me was, would you like to hold your son? And I said, well, yes, I would. Once I get to my room, go ahead and bring him to me, or bring him to us, so that we can see him. So while I was in the hospital, like I said, I really wasn't prepared for it, because or for everything that transpired, because didn't have a name. So while we were in the hospital, the doctor asked me, she said, well, how long do you want us to take him out? After how long? Give us a time frame. And I said, well, I don't know. We were saying he didn't have a name. So he was in there an extended amount of time, until my mother called the hospital line, or the room phone. And she simply asked me a question. She said, is the baby still there? Grandson still there? And I said, yes, he's still in here with us. We fell asleep with him in here. And I said, well, I can't let him go because we don't have a name. So at that point, turned to a friend, and I said, well, do you have a name? And he said, yes, I have a name. And I said, well, don't tell me, call the nurse. And when he called the nurse, I said, when you leave out to go check on the little one, I said, tell the nurse she can come in at that point. As he walked out, I pretty much stood up over my son, or our son rather, and I held his hand. And as I held his hand, a little voice whispered to me, "Mommy, I couldn't take you with me because you have my little sister. So I'm going to watch over you. Everything that you've been praying for, everything that you have asked for, it will be given to you, everything." And it surprised me. It shocked me because I let go of his hand and I turned around and I'm looking in my room like, okay, is someone in here with me? And I knew that at that point he was just letting me know that everything was okay. Everything was okay. Everything. So at that point, the nurse came in and simply said, "Do you think you will want to see him one more time before you leave?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, I would want to see him one more time. And she said, "Okay, no problem. What we will do, we'll put him in a place where you can see him one more time." And I said, "Okay, no problem." So when my boyfriend came back, I asked him, I said, what name? What was the name? What was the name that you selected? And he said, I didn't want to alarm you. He said, but my mom asked if I could, this was way before, this was back in maybe when she found out that I was pregnant. She said, King, the name King just continued to come to her in a dream. King, King, King. And she said, I have never named any of my grandchildren or anything of that nature. But this grandchild I want to name. And so he said King, and his middle name would be Quincy. And I said, okay, well, why Quincy? That is part of your name because when I looked at our son, he resembled you. And in honor of everything that you went through, that's the reason why Quincy was his middle name, and that's how we came up with King. So from that point on, there was some strength that I mustered up to just try to piece everything still together, still trying to piece everything together. But at no point in time when I was in the hospital did I question and say I did something wrong. There was no point in time where I thought that. I understood that it wasn't his timing. And when I heard that little voice reassuring me that everything is okay, there was nothing that could have been done. If I wouldn't have went to yoga and been in close proximity to the hospital, then I possibly could have passed away in my sleep because I could have died of a blood clot at the end of the day. That's what I was informed. So by me actually being at the facility where the hospital is, I mean, the warning possibly could have been when I was experiencing the different pains that I was experiencing, because one thing, another doctor came, my delivery doctor, she came to me and she said, today was my off day and I just had to come speak to you. I had to come see you. And I said, well, what happened? She said, I don't know. I can't explain. I've never seen anything like this. She said the umbilical cord, she said it was slightly enlarged and that was it. But she said, I've never seen anything like this. So she said, I can't explain it. And she said, I have looked through everything. And she said, this was just, she said, there's nothing that could have been done. Nothing. And she said, now we could do two things. She said, we can perform an autopsy to see if we can find anything. But she said, I'm going to be honest with you. She said, there's nothing that could have been done at all. And, it shocked me. It shocked me because I said, yeah, there's nothing that could have been done. I'm healthy. Everything was in place as far as me going to my midwife and actually just sitting and talking with her. And like I said, the week before all of this transpired, all of this happened, I had an ultrasound. And that ultrasound, before any issues came about, that ultrasound is what I had. And he was how he was positioned on that ultrasound. It was like he was looking at me. He was looking at me on the ultrasound that particular day, because I asked the technician, I said, are those his eyes? Is he looking at me? And he said, yes, he's looking at you. And when I reflect back on that, the series of events that happened as far as his demise, I said he made the ultimate sacrifice. And under no circumstance, would I have wanted it this way, but he understood, and with things that I couldn't understand. I couldn't understand it. I didn't know why, for myself, but I never did blame myself. That's one thing, because when the counselor came in, she said, well, don't blame yourself. There's nothing that you did. And I said, I know. And she just was looking at me, and she said, there were 2 other women in this wing that lost their child. And she said, they're not doing so well. But when I look at you, she said, I see strength. She said, I see it. I see it. And as I was in the hospital, I had a series of unfortunate events that happened even when I was in the hospital. One being that my blood count was low and it continued to drop. So they had to keep me in the hospital I went in on the 13th, delivered on the 14th. I was in the hospital from the 15th to the 17th, take it back, the 13th through the 17th. And the individuals that I met, I felt like it was a purpose for them to come into my life, especially the nurse. My last nurse that I had, she was just there with me. It was like she didn't leave my side. I started talking to her, and we formed a friendship from, just what happened. And she said, I just can't believe that this strength you have. Where is this strength coming from? And I said, the strength is coming from him, because it's not me. Because I said, I'm hurting. I said, but he told me to be strong. Everything I prayed about, he said, it's going to be okay. And after that, so many things happened. I was rushed back after they released me. I was released from the hospital, and then I received a invoice from a person that I thought was, family, my doula. She sent me an invoice asking for the remaining balance. Now, when we originally met, it was the week before I lost my son. So that was our first time meeting in February, the last week in February. When I called her at the hospital, I thought it was under good intentions that, you were there to support me. However, I guess there was another motive behind it, because like I said, I received an invoice when I called her just to let her know that I had made it out of the hospital. And she really didn't stay there with me during the duration of my loss, because while I was in the hospital, I asked for a death certificate. I said I knew that I wouldn't receive a birth certificate. I knew I would receive a death certificate or something to acknowledge his existence. And the hospital basically told me, no, there's nothing we can give you. And I said, well, you gave me the research. You gave me the paperwork that says I can get a stillbirth, because that's what you all have written it as, a stillbirth. And they said, well, no, we don't normally give out stillbirths because we don't have anyone or no one asked for that, And it became a point where, certain people in the hospital, they were very insensitive. And just on top of that, I had to deal with a balance, and it was worded, I'm sorry for the loss of your son, but this is a business. Yeah, this is a business. And you still have to pay. And that was, again, another shocking moment. It hurt. And I was rushed back to the hospital on the 23rd. I was actually in the shower. I was taking a shower, and I just noticed I was hemorrhaging. I was hemorrhaging in the shower. And as I'm in the shower, it was like an out-of-body experience where I was talking to someone, and that someone was my son. I was talking to him, and he was telling me, he said, Mom, you need to go to the hospital. You need to go to the hospital. And I'm talking to him. I'm like, no, I'm okay. Everything is okay. I just left the hospital. I'm not going back to the hospital. No, 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 no. He said, Mom, I need you to go to the hospital. I said, no, 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 I'm not going to the hospital. So at that point, he said, okay, watch this. That's what I heard. Watch this, Mom. As soon as I stepped out of the shower, I became dizzy. At this point, my mom, my dad, everyone was in the house, or they came from Miami to be with me. And my mom heard me scream, and she beat on the door. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? I said, I'm dizzy. She said, we're going to the hospital. We're going to the hospital. So my mom and my sister took me to the hospital. And when I get to the hospital, the first thing the doctor asked me, has anything happened to you over the course of 90 days? And I told her, yes, I had just had a stillbirth. And she said, my gut is telling me that you still have some residue, or retained products. It's called retained products inside of you. And I said, there's no way. I said, they performed a DNC and I was in the clear, and that's why I'm home. She said, you were hemorrhaging a lot of blood. You're losing too much blood. She said 9 times out of 10, that's what happened. She said, but I'm going to run some tests and we're going to see what actually happens. And lo and behold, I had to get another DNC because the retained products of contraception was still inside of me. After that, I was like, okay, I'm on the path. I'm on my path to continuous recovery. However, that wasn't the ending. Called the hospital, or my boyfriend called the hospital to see to check on the status as far as having him removed from the hospital, to have him cremated, because there was no way that we could have proper burial for him as it relates to giving him that. But they said, well, we don't know if he was sent to the funeral home. So at that point, just wondering, okay, where is my son? There's no closure. What's going on? Why? Finally, after having to go back up to the hospital to file the paperwork for a stillbirth death certificate, found out that he was still there in the hospital, and he was decomposing. He was decomposing in the hospital. And prior to me leaving, I couldn't see him one last time because they told me that he had been decomposing from the point of him being brought back into where the babies were. The nurse did bring me his soiled gown. She washed everything else, but she brought me his soiled gown, and she explained to me that she didn't want to wash it because that was, what he had on. But I didn't have an opportunity to see him one last time. So finally, when he was brought to the funeral home, I asked the caretaker if possible, if any way possible, if there's anything that can be done so I can see him one last time. And she said, well, once I receive him, I'll call you and let you know. And she called me and said, as a grandmother, she said, no. She said, keep the memories that you had of him when you held his hand. And for a while, I teared up and I said, why? And then strength, courage came about, and I said, no, King wanted me to be strong. And that's how I have to be for him. So finally on March the 28th, I received the certificate for his birth, recognized as a stillbirth. Then on top of that, on the 15th, I went back to the hospital because I was experiencing chest pain. But once again, I still said, no, I have to be strong. I have to be strong for him because that's what he wanted. That's what he asked. So I said, no matter what trials and tribulations, no, I'm going to be strong. I'm going to be strong. I actually was able I breastfed. I was postpartum when I breastfed with my daughter. So I stopped after maybe 3 weeks with my son. I was able to actually produce milk, and I saved milk for him so that I could donate milk, because I said I just knew that's what he wanted. That's what he wanted. I wasn't able to do it before, and I said I'm going to make sure that this time around that I do it and give back. But unfortunately, I had to stop because the doctor told me it was too much, that you're still hemorrhaging or you're still trying to heal and you're trying to pump, and it's not good right now. So you're going to have to stop. So he advised me to stop. But yeah, that was my experience.
Goodness. Oh man, thank you so much for sharing all of that. You took us on a journey, and I thank you for sharing so much detail and just so much emotion, and we could feel, and I felt everything that you said. So really take us on how did you grieve? Did you go to therapy? How was your faith and God? Take us on, the next few months. How did you go through that process?
Well, the next few months, my family, they were saying, you need to go to therapy. You need to go to therapy. You need to go to therapy. And I said, I will do it, when I'm ready. However, the birthing center, we had a session with the midwife. She came over. She talked with us. It was a home visit. So she was like, just wow, I'm just your strength, like for you to sit here, like this is the first time where I actually have teared up. And because I wasn't tearing up, I was strong. I was strong for him, but just reliving it, thinking back, like it's emotional. And he's still telling me, Mommy, I need you to be strong. Mommy, I need you to be strong. I still hear this voice saying, be strong, because my friend actually sent me your podcast. And she said, I know what happened. She said, you need to listen to this. This can be a part of your healing process. And I said, oh, okay. So I listened to the first story, listened to the second story. And then by the time I was just sitting in the car by myself, just listening to or hearing all of the stories. And I said, no, I have to reach out, because there may be someone else that experienced the same thing, and they don't know how or what to do. And they may blame themselves. They may question. Throughout this journey, a part of me wanted to question, but that other part of me, that strong part, him being with me, wouldn't allow me to question anything. The only thing I heard was, be strong. We're going to do this. We're going to make this happen, because you don't expect it. I was 26 weeks. I was 6 months pregnant. I had a couple more months to go. So no one was expecting this. No one was expecting this. So the healing process, just by me being able to talk and share my story, because I come to find out there were other family members that had the same experience, but it wasn't talked about and no one knew. And when I share my story, it's like you're able to share it. You're able to be that voice that I couldn't be that voice, but you're the voice. From the point of you being in the hospital, from everyone that came in and you sharing the story and how, his legacy will continue. That's what I continue to say. His legacy will continue. I'm going to be strong for him. And that's my only, he's my purpose. He's my purpose to continue on my journey, my life's purpose, continue my destiny, continue everything. He's my reason why, because he knew exactly what I was praying about. He knew exactly what was going on. And he said, Mom, don't worry about it. I got you. I got your back. I'm here with you. Don't worry about it. Stop questioning it. I got you. So no matter what comes your way, no matter what is said, how it's said, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to be your guardian angel. So he sits right on my dresser, and every day, I talk to him, and that's going through my healing and talking to my family. My dad is actually a minister, so he's very supportive. He prayed over everyone, and he said, he had a greater purpose. He's with the King as well, so he's right there in his arms, watching over everyone. So don't fear, don't question, don't wonder. And the healing, even as far as me donating my milk supply, I was able to donate approximately 20 bags of milk, unlike what I was able to do before. And just the pleasure, just the joy of being able to supply milk for someone. When the midwife came over, she was saying, wow, she said, and you still pumped and you continue to pump? I say, I had to, because I know how I felt when I felt like I couldn't produce. So now I have an opportunity to produce. I said, no, there's no need for it to go in vain. I said, a mother and their child will be able to, have a part of myself, have a part of King, and we're paying it forward because I know how it felt.
Awesome. I love that your midwife encouraged and you wanted to pump your milk. I think that a lot of women don't know that they have that option, and it will benefit so many people, and it's almost turning your pain into a purpose, especially when you have the opportunity to do it. So I'm so happy that you shared that, and you are probably one of the first ones that have been on the podcast that's talked about that. And I hope to get more women who have share about their experiences, really wanting to do it for a greater purpose and definitely help other babies that are in the NICU. So thank you for sharing that. Any other resources or books or things that have helped you on your healing journey?
Through my healing journey, they're Rachel's Gift. They have sent postcards and just the reminders saying that, his leg or your baby, his legacy continues on. So they send it around designated months. When it was close around his due date, they sent one then, and then they sent one before or after, and then they gave me a little care package. And inside of that care package was a book, and inside of that book, it was a mother sharing her actual story and how she got over what she did. And I said, for me, my healing process, I love writing. I love journaling. So as a result, that's what I did. I took everything and I started writing, and I created a keepsake book. I'm still in the process of working on that keepsake book because I said it's a work in progress, because it's not just from the point of, King's demise. It's a continuation of what is in store, what I plan on doing, the next step, moving forward. So that is something that I have been doing, journaling, speaking to different mothers, encouraging them to not hold everything inside, and letting them know it's okay to cry. It's okay to scream if you need to, but just know that someone is there with you, and continuing, like I said, just talking to him every day has been, beneficial to me, because like I say, every time that I want to say, I can't do it, he always gives me that hope that I need to press on. So things may not still be going right, but he tells Mom, it's okay. It's all right. It's a journey. It's a journey that I'm taking you on. It's a journey. I'm not going to let you down. So that's really what's been keeping me going. And as far as encouraging words, thinking of encouragement, I ran across a quote And this quote, I felt that it was perfect for me. And it's perfect for every woman that has experienced a stillbirth, a miscarriage, anything of that nature. And the quote goes like this: and once the storm is over, you won't remember how you made it through, how you managed to survive. You won't even be sure whether the storm is really over. But one thing is certain: when you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person who walked in. That's what the storm's all about. So that's a quote that I want to encourage every mother. I want to leave that with you, because it has truly, that's my affirmation, what I like to call my little daily affirmation. That's what I say to myself. Like, this is just a storm. This is only a storm. Storms come and go. They come and go. But in the end, it changed me as a person. I move differently. I don't react the same way I do, because I realize that life is too short. Life is really too short. And I don't want to take anything for granted.
Yes, that's such a good one. That's one of those you definitely want to repost and keep in your archive to pull out every once in a while so you can look over.
Yes.
Awesome. So where can we connect with you after this episode?
Well, after this episode, my Facebook is Lady, Ladi Quinn, Lady Quinn, Quin. You can also email me at LaQuinda, which is LaQuind as in dog, and A at Lady, LadiQuin enterprise.com. So that's the best way to reach out to me. In addition, I'm on your Facebook page. So you can reach out to me that way as well. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, LaQuinda. I know that the listeners are definitely going to be impacted from it. We will definitely chat in the Facebook group. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. For show notes and more information on today's guest, go to sistersinloss.com. If you have not joined our online community, go to sistersinloss.com, as well as sign up for our newsletter. We want you to be a part of the community so you can know all of the events that we have planned on as Sisters in Loss. Go to sistersinloss.com, sign up for our newsletter, join our online community, and stay connected with us. Talk to you soon.